The chamber was alive with the usual energy of a political spectacle. Cameras hummed, microphones buzzed, and the nation watched as one lawmaker stood tall, projecting confidence. His words flowed with authority, sharp, precise, as if rehearsed for days in advance. He raised his voice at just the right moments, pounding the table with conviction. To his supporters, he was untouchable. To his critics, he was a master of deception. But to the millions tuning in, he seemed, at least in this moment, to be in control. He smirked, leaning forward into the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he declared, "I have never said anything that could contradict my position today. My record is clean. My stance has been consistent. The truth is on my side." The crowd of his allies erupted in applause. They wanted to believe him. They needed to believe him. After all, politics isn't just about facts. It's about perception. And perception is power. But here's the thing. Perception can crumble in seconds. And sometimes, all it takes is one piece of evidence, one overlooked clip, one recording from the past to dismantle an empire built on lies. The camera zoomed in on his face. That smug confidence. That certainty that no one would dare challenge him. The audience in the chamber seemed convinced. The lawmaker believed he was winning the day. But for those who knew the full story, for those who had done their homework, there was only one thought. He just set himself up for the fall of a lifetime. And the fall was coming. Because the truth wasn't buried. It wasn't hidden in a vault or buried in some dusty archive. No, the truth was alive, captured on video, accessible to anyone who knew where to look. A single clip from the past, sharp, undeniable, irrefutable, was waiting to surface. Imagine the scene. On one screen, the lawmaker today, declaring his spotless record, and on another screen, a flashback. The very same man, years ago, saying the exact opposite, his words contradicting his current stance, his confidence betraying him, the smirk wiped away, the illusion shattered. This wasn't just politics. This was theater, and every theater needs its climax. Now here's the dramatic irony. The audience didn't know yet. The lawmaker's colleagues didn't know yet. Even he didn't know the storm that was about to hit. But we, watching, we could feel it. The tension was building, like a movie where the villain boasts about his invincibility, unaware the trap has already been set. And here was the twist. The person who would unleash this clip wasn't a rival senator, wasn't a political opponent, wasn't even a journalist in the room. No, it was an ordinary citizen. Someone digging through archives, pulling threads, and finding the one piece of evidence that would change the narrative forever. That's the power of accountability. That's the power of truth in the digital age. You can run, you can spin, you can lie, but you cannot erase the past. And when the past resurfaces, it does not knock politely. It kicks the door down. The cameras continued to focus on the lawmaker's confident smile. He gestured to his supporters, soaking in the applause. He thought he had won. He thought he had silenced the critics. But here's where the real story begins. Because just outside that chamber, the clip was already loaded. The tweet was ready. The post was drafted. The upload button was one click away. And when that clip went live, when the side-by-side comparison hit the internet, it would ignite a firestorm. One lie, one contradiction, one clip. That's all it takes. So when he smirked, when he doubled down, when he looked into the cameras and said, "I have never contradicted myself," the world didn't just see confidence. They saw the arrogance of someone unaware of the reckoning that was seconds away. And when the reckoning came, it would not be gentle. It would be merciless. The past was coming back to haunt him, and this time, there would be no escape. But here is the question we must all ask ourselves as we watch. How many times has this happened before? How many lies have been swept under the rug because the right clip didn't surface in time? How many politicians have built entire careers on the hope that people forget? This time, however, the past didn't stay forgotten. It came roaring back, louder than ever, fueled by the internet, amplified by millions, unstoppable. And in just moments, the lie that seemed so strong would begin to unravel. But how did the clip surface? Who found it? And why was this the moment it exploded? Stay with me, because what comes next is not just about a lawmaker's smirk fading into silence. It's about the turning point, when the internet, the people, and the truth combined to trap one of the most powerful figures in politics. And when it happened, the world did not just watch. The world reacted. The smirk was about to vanish, and the lie was about to unravel. It always begins quietly. One post, one upload, one citizen who decides to dig deeper. While the lawmaker was still smiling under the hot lights of national television, someone, just an ordinary person with an internet connection, was scrolling through old footage. Maybe they were fact-checking for fun. Maybe they were already suspicious. Maybe they had been paying attention when the rest of the country had looked away. And then, there it was. The clip. The lawmaker, years younger, standing at another podium, with the same confidence, the same voice, but delivering words that directly contradicted everything he was saying today. He wasn't vague. He wasn't subtle. No. He had been clear, emphatic, even proud of the position he once held. And now on national television, he had sworn that such a position never existed. Caught. The clip was ripped, edited side by side with his current statement, and posted online. The caption was short, devastating, impossible to ignore. He lied. Watch the proof. It hit Twitter first, then Instagram, then TikTok. Within minutes, millions of eyes had seen it. The retweets piled up, hashtags formed, screenshots flooded group chats. And then came the memes, merciless, sharp, turning the lawmaker's smirk into the very symbol of his downfall. The first wave was disbelief. No way. Did he really just lie like that? The second wave was outrage. He looked straight into the camera and said the opposite of what he said years ago. And the third wave? Laughter. Because sometimes the only response to such arrogance unraveling is to mock it, to turn it into a punchline, to strip away the power with ridicule. And here's where the story shifts. For years, politicians relied on the short memory of the public. They believed that yesterday's words would disappear, buried under today's headlines. But not anymore, not in the digital age. The internet does not forget. The internet archives. The internet remembers. And the internet loves nothing more than exposing hypocrisy. The clip spread like wildfire because it wasn't just about him. It was about us. About everyone who has ever been talked down to, dismissed, or lied to by someone in power. When the lawmaker's words from the past collided with his words in the present, it wasn't just his credibility collapsing. It was the system itself being mocked by its own arrogance. And that's why the reaction was so visceral. In living rooms, people leaned closer to their screens. On subways, commuters gasped out loud. At dinner tables, families passed phones around, replaying the side-by-side footage again and again. Every time the present-day smirk was followed by the past-day contradiction, the laughter grew louder, the anger deeper. News outlets scrambled. By the time the lawmaker walked out of the chamber, still convinced he had won the day, anchors across the country were already preparing their breaking news graphics. Contradiction? Caught lying? The headlines wrote themselves. And think about this. He didn't even know yet. As the clip spread online, he was smiling, shaking hands, soaking in the applause of his allies. He thought the cameras were his friend. He thought the story was his to control. But outside, in the digital world, the story had already escaped his grasp. He wasn't controlling the narrative anymore. The narrative was controlling him. Let's pause here. Let's ask a simple question. How many times have we seen this pattern? The powerful assume their words are untouchable. They believe that because they said it on television, with confidence it must be true. But the truth is never theirs to own. The truth belongs to the record. And the record is ruthless. Back in the chamber, his allies were still cheering. But on the streets, the conversation had changed. Reporters' phones buzzed with notifications. Producers whispered in earpieces. Screens behind them lit up with trending hashtags. More lawmaker lie, receipts don't lie, smirk to shock. The shift was immediate. What had begun as a powerful speech was now a viral disaster. His credibility, once carefully polished, was unraveling in real time, and the audience knew it. Here's the beauty of this moment. It wasn't orchestrated by a rival campaign or a powerful media conglomerate or even a calculated leak. It was the people. A citizen with access to the truth, armed with the tools of the internet, had leveled the playing field. And that's why the crowd online felt empowered. This wasn't just about catching one man in a lie. This was about proving that the truth can still win. That no matter how much money, influence, or confidence a politician may carry, one clip can strip it all away. But the story wasn't done. Because what happens when a politician realizes that their carefully crafted facade has been shattered? What happens when the smirk fades, the cameras turn, and the questions begin? That moment was coming, and when it did, the transformation, from arrogance to panic, from denial to silence, would be broadcast for the world to see. The lie had been exposed. The internet had spoken. The stage was set. But the unraveling had only just begun. He walked out of the chamber convinced he had scored a victory. His stride was confident, almost theatrical. He waved to supporters, shook hands with aides, nodded at colleagues who gave him approving smiles. For a moment, he was the picture of control. But control is fragile. And that's the lesson he was about to learn. Because waiting outside the chamber was not applause. It was a wall of cameras. Reporters pressed forward, microphones extended, voices sharp, overlapping, insistent. "Senator, did you lie about your past position? How do you explain this clip? Were you trying to mislead the public?" At first, he smiled. The practiced grin, the one he had used countless times to dodge accountability. He raised a hand, chuckled dismissively, and said what politicians always say, "That's taken out of context." But the reporters didn't back off. "Sir, the clip is clear. You said the opposite in 2015. Are you denying those words are yours? Do you stand by what you said today even after this footage?" The crowd pressed closer. Cameras zoomed in. His face, once smug, now glistened under the heat of the lights. And here's where the drama takes its turn. For years, he had relied on the tactic of deflection. If you smile, laugh, and dismiss with confidence, most stories die. But not this time. Because the clip wasn't rumor or speculation. It was his voice, his face, his words, and the world had already seen it. The pause after each question grew longer. His grin faltered. His eyes darted, not in control anymore, but searching for escape. He repeated phrases, taken out of context, mischaracterized, misunderstood. But each denial only made the reporters louder, more aggressive. This is where the psychology cracked. When a person lies and is confronted with evidence, they often believe the performance can continue. But when the crowd refuses to play along, the illusion collapses. That collapse? We saw it in real time. His shoulders tightened, his voice grew sharper, his tone shifted from dismissive to defensive. The smirk was gone, and the audience watching at home knew exactly what that meant. Clips of the confrontation spread instantly. The internet that had already exposed his lie now amplified his denial. Side-by-side edits flooded TikTok and Twitter. Him in 2015 versus him today. Him smirking versus him sweating under pressure. Memes compared him to magicians failing a trick mid-performance. Headlines screamed, "Caught red-handed," the smirk that didn't last, and denial in the face of proof. But let's pause here. What made this moment so powerful wasn't just his unraveling. It was what it revealed about power itself. Because here was a man who believed he could rewrite history as if the record no longer mattered. And yet, history had turned against him. The truth had trapped him, and there was no escape. And here is the haunting question for all of us. If one lawmaker can be exposed this way, how many more would collapse under the weight of their own contradictions, if only we looked closely enough? The confrontation dragged on. His aides tried to shield him, usher him into a waiting car, but the questions followed. Do you regret lying? What about your constituents? Will you resign? The car door slammed, but the damage was done. The footage was out. The confrontation was viral. The narrative had shifted, and he was no longer the man in control. He was the man on the run. And what happens when the powerful run? The chase begins. Because reporters don't stop at the first contradiction. Citizens don't stop at the first lie. Once the armor cracks, everyone wants to see how deep the fracture goes. And this lawmaker's fracture was widening by the second. In living rooms, people shook their heads. On social media, users typed furious threads. The sentiment was clear. If he lied about this, what else has he lied about? The lie wasn't just a scandal. It was a symbol. And that symbol was about to ignite something much larger. The unraveling had passed the point of no return. The confrontation was just the beginning. The real collapse, the destruction of trust, the loss of dignity, the viral dismantling of a career that was still to come. And the audience knew it. They could feel it. Because this wasn't just a bad day for one politician. This was the moment the balance of power shifted, live and unfiltered, in front of millions. And the question now was simple. Would he fight back, or would the truth consume him entirely? The answer was coming. The car door slammed shut, but the echoes of his unraveling still lingered in the air outside. Reporters shouted after him, their questions muffled by the tinted glass, their cameras still rolling as the vehicle sped away. For years, he had been the one setting the narrative. Now, he was the narrative, and the world wasted no time reacting. Within minutes, news networks ran with the footage. The clip of him smirking in the chamber cut against the footage of him sweating outside. Split-screen segments dissected every flicker of his expression. Analysts debated not just the lie, but the arrogance that had fueled it. Commentators said it outright. This was not just a mistake, this was deliberate. On social media, the storm became a hurricane. The hashtag #TruthTrap surged into trending lists worldwide. Memes spread faster than the original footage, side-by-side images labeled before the clip and after the clip. One viral tweet read, "He underestimated receipts. The internet never forgets." Thousands of replies echoed the sentiment, and here's where the deeper impact revealed itself. Ordinary people, teachers, nurses, immigrants, parents, spoke up in the comments saying, "We've been told lies our whole lives. This moment proves they can be caught. They can be held accountable." It wasn't just about one man anymore. It was about power itself. For decades, politicians had relied on the short memory of the public. But the digital age had changed the rules. The past was no longer buried in archives. It lived online, waiting for its moment to resurface. And that's exactly what had happened here. The lawmaker tried damage control. His team released a carefully worded statement, filled with phrases like misunderstood context and moving forward. But it was too late. Because once the audience sees a crack, every word afterward feels like spin. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. In the days that followed, the consequences deepened. Editorials called for accountability. Talk shows mocked his excuses. Late-night comedians replayed the clip with biting commentary. Every replay was another nail in the coffin of his credibility. And yet the story wasn't only about his fall. It was about the rise of something bigger, the reaffirmation that truth, no matter how long buried, always finds a way back. Think about it. One clip from years ago toppled the facade of control. One piece of evidence, resurfaced at the right time, flipped the script entirely. That is the power of accountability in the modern age. And it sent a message, not just to him, but to every leader watching. If you build your legacy on deception, the day will come when that deception catches up. The courtroom of public opinion had delivered its verdict. But let us not forget the most striking part of this story, the faces of ordinary people watching. In living rooms, in break rooms, on commutes, they weren't just laughing at his collapse. They were inspired. Inspired by the fact that truth still mattered. Inspired by the idea that power, when challenged, could falter. For many, it felt like justice, even without a courtroom. And that's why this story matters more than just one headline, because it reminds us of something timeless. Arrogance always has an expiration date. Lies are heavy, and eventually, they crush the ones who carry them. The lawmaker's career may stumble on, or it may end here. That part is still unfolding. But the moment, the unraveling, the confrontation, the undeniable truth, will be remembered, because in that instant, millions of people saw that power could be humbled. And here's where the story turns back to you, the audience. Because what happened here wasn't random. It happened because someone, somewhere, cared enough to dig, to fact-check, to share the clip. It happened because ordinary citizens refused to be silent. And it happened because in this new era, truth travels faster than lies. So ask yourself, what other truths are waiting to be uncovered? What other moments of accountability could change the narrative? And more importantly, are you ready to demand them? This is not just entertainment. It's not just politics. It's a reminder that your voice, your vigilance matters. The lie was exposed. The truth broke free. And history will remember who stood on which side. So here's the call. If you believe dignity is stronger than arrogance, if you believe truth deserves to shine, then join this movement. Share this story. Subscribe for more moments where power is challenged and justice is heard. Add your voice in the comments, because every word counts. The lie unraveled. The truth stood tall. And the message is clear. No matter how powerful, no matter how polished, no one escapes accountability forever. The cameras caught it. The people saw it. And now, so have you.